What's up, everybody? I'm back with another movie review. This week, it's going to be Candyman. It just came out a few days back, so I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of previews for it. If you watch a good amount of TV or just scan YouTube, sometimes you'll find a quick clip of it. So I was really excited for this movie. It was supposed to come out, I believe, in like 2019, but with everything that happened over the last few years with COVID and everything like that, a lot of movies ended up getting delayed, mainly because theaters wouldn't be open. But it's finally out, and I can finally give my review on it. I'm a huge horror fan. Just to give some context, though, I'm not the kind of horror fan. I liked Insidious. I liked Conjuring. I like those movies. I didn't mind Paranormal Activity. Those kind of movies were good. I don't care for movies, though, that have crazy amounts of jump scares. And it's not because I'm a little bitch, which I might be. But I'm just not a huge fan of the loud noise. That's, it's typical to me. Like, of course I'm going to be scared of a loud noise. You know what I mean? Of course it's going to make me jump. That doesn't mean what's on screen is scary. It's the sound that scares me. That's one thing I will say about this movie. Going into this movie, if you're afraid it's going to be a jump scare movie, it's not. It's not a jump scare movie at all. It's an atmospheric horror movie. It's a movie that you almost get creeped out. You're creeped out by watching it. You're not scared. You're not holding your hands over your, you're not putting your hand over your eyes. You're more or less interested in what's going to happen next, but you just don't know what's going to happen next. And it's not a jump scare normally. It's normally just creepy atmosphere. And that already is something that I thought was really good about this movie. I did say when I first walked into the theater, though, first thing I said about this movie was this movie's going to be make or break the first 15 minutes. Like, the first 15 minutes of this movie is going to make or break this movie completely. And I was right. I was absolutely right about it. The first 15 minutes of this movie is genuinely pretty freaking creepy, to be honest with you. And it sets the tone for the movie. They do a pretty good job at it, to be honest. Before I go into the review even more, though, got a couple things. First, like the fucking video. Second, subscribe to the fucking channel. And third, hi. So, one thing I do have to say is, if you haven't seen the original, the first Candyman back in, I think it came out in the early 90s, I want to say. If you haven't seen that, I do suggest watching that. I really do. I'm not going to take any points away from the score of this movie because of that, but I do recommend watching the first one. I do wish they would have advertised that this is kind of like a sequel to that one, but I think that would have turned a lot of people off because this movie is technically a spiritual sequel to that first movie. It does take notes from the first movie and brings it into this one. If you have seen the first movie, great, you're good to go. This movie's going to make sense to you. If you haven't, it's not that the movie's not going to make sense to you. It's that there's going to be things where you're going to have a lot more insight on if you saw the original. So with that being said, I'll give a quick synopsis. Movie's pretty much about an artist. He's not really known whatsoever. He's kind of like they kind of call him a tortured soul type of artist. He makes art of... He takes a lot of inspiration from the social injustice that has happened to African Americans over the last hundreds of years, practically. And if you've seen the original Candyman, Candyman is pretty much the what is the word for it? He was a slave, and he got his hand chopped off, and he got beaten to death and ripped apart by a bunch of fucking slave owners and a bunch of white people that were just horrible. That's what Candyman is. He's the entity of justice, pretty much. That's what they push in this movie quite a bit. I do think this movie was heavily influenced by the Black Lives Matter and just in general, the injustice, that type of, what is the word for it? That type of, group. That's what it takes from. It takes from that idea a lot. And I think they did a fantastic job at taking from that. I will say towards the end of the movie, there was a little bit of like a forced police brutality scene. It seemed a little bit over the top, but not to go into it too far, I don't really have an opinion when it comes to, I feel like I don't really have a right to have an opinion on social injustice when it comes to police brutality, because not only am I not a police officer, I'm also not a black male. I'm not. I'm a white guy. I'm pasty as fuck. I am a white dude that And I have to admit, I'm very privileged when it comes to, being pulled over. I don't get questioned like crazy, like you see most black people being questioned, so this movie definitely puts that in perspective a little bit. It really does. And it doesn't do it in a cheap way either, except for that scene I was saying at the end. But, the movie ended up, it worked out for the movie. Just to touch on that a little bit though, I'm not somebody who is here to argue with that type of agenda. I'm not here to argue that. I'm all for it. I agree with it. I think it was great to have in this movie. The movie also is a predominantly African-American casted film, and it's perfect. It works fantastic. Like it's just really good. I love the acting in this movie. I love the atmosphere of this movie. I love the story of Candyman in general. So I was already going into it with a pretty good head on my shoulders on it, with a good perspective at least. So yeah, it follows an artist. The guy who plays him, he's got such a fucking weird name. I can never remember exactly how to say his name, so I'm not even gonna say his name. I feel bad, which is ironic for the movie. Say his name. He's great though. He's such a good actor. He's a good actor. Almost everybody in this movie is pretty good at the role that they are playing. They are all really well put together. There's a couple characters that end up dying that are pretty shitty actors, to be honest with you, and they're shitty in the movie too in general, so you're kind of happy they die. So yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of like bullies in this movie that get ripped apart, and you're like, yeah, it's like, yeah. So they do a good job at that. The one something just to throw something I didn't like in there about this movie. I didn't like a lot of times how underwhelming the kills were. Like one scene, the first person you see die, you see their neck getting ripped open. And then the next person, you hear him getting ripped apart. But like the character that finds him the next day, like his body parts, it doesn't show the body parts. It just shows the reaction of the character. And then it cuts to another scene. So that annoyed me a little bit. It almost felt like they kind of cut the movie down a little bit just to kind of keep it a little bit more friendly to the audience, which I don't think is necessary whatsoever, because the original movie showed Candyman like ripping people from gut to gullet and shit. Like he would rip people from the bottom of their stomach all the way up, and it showed the whole thing. So I wish there was more of that in this movie. But to be honest with you, I thought they did a really good job. I thought they did a great job with this movie. A lot of things people are seeing, a lot of things they're advertising with this movie is that Jordan Peele had something to do with this movie. He did. He was an executive producer, and he was he did screenplay for this movie as well. And you can tell his influences on this movie a lot. If you've seen Get Out or Us, any vibes that you got from those movies, you're going to get from this movie too. You can tell like anything, and that right there, that shows you, sorry to ramble, but it shows you how much influence certain people have. How much influence, whether it's good or bad influence, you can tell. Kind of like when Michael Bay does a movie, you can, even if he's not directing it, you can tell he's got an influence in it because it's over the top. There's over the top explosions and shit. Same thing with Jordan Peele. You can tell that he had an influence on this movie just from the atmosphere, from the lack of like loud noises to the quiet atmosphere to the when the characters are looking in the mirror and they see somebody walk on screen and this person that walks on screen goes, "Are you okay?" And then you see Candyman like walking away. So it's almost like, oh my God, Candyman was standing there the whole time, but I didn't see him because I was distracted by other things. So it almost makes you want to watch the movie multiple times. And I do have to say, like with Get Out and Us, I had to watch those I had to watch those movies multiple times to get the full movie. And this movie's going to be the same way. I want to see Candyman again. I really do. I respected the hell out of this movie, to be honest with you. The way they did it, like I said, the atmosphere was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The acting was really good. The violence, here and there. It was here and there. It was a hit or miss sometimes. Some of the like scenes in the movie, I wanted to see more of the characters develop a little bit. Like the main actor, the Anthony McCoy guy, he's the lead actor in this movie. The guy the artist Anthony McCoy, that's his name in the movie. He's a big fan of urban legends and like scary stories and shit like that. And his art comes from, I don't know if I said this already, but his art comes from social injustice. He has a lot of Black Lives Matter type of art that he does. They're good. It's a lot of like, it speaks to African Americans more. It speaks to his culture. I respect that. So he's that kind of artist. He pulls from his own personal experiences. He lives in like kind of the projects of Chicago. So he kind of takes from that influence. And speaking of Chicago, this movie takes place in Chicago, which I'm only like an hour away from. So it's kind of cool that, I get to see places that I've seen before in a movie. The first Candyman also was in Chicago. So that's what kind of connects these two movies a little bit. But yeah, he takes a lot of influence from his Chicago, upbringing. And one of his friends ends up bringing up the urban legend of Candyman. And it's not brought up in a stupid way either. It's not brought up as like, you say his name 5 times, then he'll appear. No, it's brought up more as like did you hear it's like the first movie story, but in like an urban legend form for this movie. And then once he hears that story, he starts to look into it to look for more ideas for his art. And, it leads him down the rabbit hole of summoning Candyman. And from there, he starts to lose his mind a little bit, and he starts to become Candyman in a way. So the fun of this movie is not the kills. It's the atmosphere, and it's the development of the main character. It's really fun watching these characters, watching that character, and watching the movie progress. Now, one of my problems was the pacing sometimes towards the end of the movie got a little wonky. It started falling off a little bit, but it was only an hour and a half long. And personally, I thought this movie could have been 145 to maybe 2 hours long, and I still would have been happy to see it. I still would have been super excited for it. There's a lot of scary movies that are like 2.5 hours long, like The Conjuring 2. That was like 2.5 hours long or 2 hours long. It was a little too long. Too many jump scares, too long. This movie, the perfect amount of atmosphere. I don't know how many times I got to say that, but it's so eerie, so creepy, man. Like they did such a good job at creeping you out without making you jump. Creepy movies like that leave a long-lasting effect on you. It makes you remember, man, I gotta watch that movie again. That movie was creepy. I like that shit. I like creepy shit. That's what this movie did to me. It makes me want to rewatch it. Makes me want to see what I missed in the background. This review is getting a little long, so I'm gonna throw a review score on it. Like I said, I'm not letting the score get affected by not by whether you've seen the first movie or not. I think whether you've seen the first movie or not, this is a 7.5 out of 10. Solid. I think this is definitely a. I think if it didn't feel like it was cut up a little bit, like the pacing of it, I think this might be in contention for like best horror movie of the year. I don't think it's going to be just because of. Sometimes it feels like they tried a little harder at pushing the social justice stuff than they did trying to keep more atmosphere going. But it's okay because, like I said, I'm all for the cause. I'm all for like pushing that a little bit. I just wish they kind of would have done a little more subtly here and there, but it was okay. It wasn't anything that's going to hinder your experience at all. But I do think it took away a little bit of the movie's atmosphere. But like I said, I still really like this movie. I still want to watch it again. I do think you should see this in theaters. It was a good watch. It was fun. It had a pretty good ending too. It leaves off kind of like they want to make another one, but I'm not sure if they will, to be honest. I'm not sure what their plans are for it. I liked it though. It was worth my hour and a half time. It was worth the $10 to see it. I'd see it again. I'd spend money on it again. I think the messages that they brought to the movie were good, even though sometimes they felt a little bit forced. It wasn't too bad though. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the main character's development. I wish we got more. That's probably my biggest thing is like, if they do a sequel, if they do a sequel, they have a huge amount to expand on. Like they can do so much with a sequel. And I think that's pretty much my main thing about it. It was fun to watch. It was fun. It was really good. It was fun. 7.5. You guys are going to like this movie. 7.5 is a pretty big score for me too when it comes to horror movies. Like Insidious, that was one of my favorites. I gave that like a 7 or an 8. I was around there. This is around there. Insidious was a little creepier, I think, just because it was I don't know, something about it. It had more stuff going on in it than this movie did. But I thought this movie was good. I thought it was really fun to watch. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Oh, and just to let you guys know, I will be doing a review on Shang-Chi next. That's coming out this upcoming week. So we're back to Marvel for a little bit. So get ready, guys. Thanks. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching the video. Make sure you throw me a like because that really helps me out a little bit. I appreciate the view. If you could sub, that'd be cool too. Throw a comment down there. Let me know what's going on. Let me know like the next movie you might want to see a review on. The next one I should be doing is Shang-Chi. So we got another Marvel movie to do. So stay tuned for that. And I appreciate everybody who stuck around. Bye guys.